So this is going to be a controversial video. What's so controversial, you ask? Me moving cameras. Sorry. What's so controversial, you ask? Well, I have an opinion. I have an opinion that says that life is not inherently valuable. It's what you do with it that matters. My life, for example, at the end of things, except for maybe this series, probably isn't worth as much as, I don't know, Neil Armstrong, or the man who invented polio, or Joan of Arc. I can't say it in French. Anyway, there's a lot of people, way more valuable lives than mine. Inherently, I'm worth less than them. I'll be the first to admit it. If you had to choose between them and me, I wouldn't like it. I'd probably cry. But I'd understand it if you had to choose them to live and me to die. I get that. But the point of this is that I do not believe life is inherently valuable. There's lots of people. There's a watcher here on this channel who lives in Virginia, very religious, and he will probably absolutely disagree with me for religious reasons, and that's his right. Personally, this isn't about religion at all, because I can pretty much guarantee most religions are against suicide, and they'll think that I'm talking about suicide, and I'm not. What I'm talking about is the idea that was espoused long before I thought of it. In fact, I read it, and I went, "Oh yeah, that's the way to think about it." That 30 great years are better than 60 okay years are better than 90 poor ones. So the guy lives 30 years, 30 years, and dies, and there's 30 wonderful, fantastic years, has overall a better spin on this rock than the person who lives 90 years and they suck. You know, the guy, I don't know, imagine the guy who is a black guy and grew up in the South after the Civil War and before the Civil Rights Movement, and he gets accused of something when he's 13 or 14. Excuse me, I itch. And he goes to prison because he was guilty of EWB, existing while black. And he goes to prison for life in the South, and there's no AC, and so basically every day is full of suck. And he gets to live to a ripe old age, and he's 95. He's going, "Why am I still alive?" And then he dies. I mean, you just gotta admit that guy's life sucks. There's been millions upon millions of people's lives have sucked, and many hundred thousands, not as many, whose lives have sucked. Lives have been pretty good. Excuse me. It's hard to talk to you guys when my nose is trying to run me. Anyway, so this idea came to me because people were talking about robots replacing people, and then people are living longer, and their robots are going to help with elder care. And I have a great fear. I will admit this. I have a great fear that I will live a very long time, and that the last 20 or 30 years of my life will be in a home somewhere. And all I could think was, what if somebody came up to me and told me that I had like 22 years left? So I'll be 60 in 22 years. And suddenly this great wash of relief came over me. So I figured at 60 I'd still be in fairly good health, and then I would die and I'd avoid all that. And that's a personal thing. It's a great fear of mine. But it is about quality of life. And as an Aspie, let's all admit it, ain't all of us living quality lives, and quite a few of us would be better off if either the world understood us, or we were not born with Asperger's and the high functioning autistic same way. But I mean, not wouldn't, if one person said, wouldn't it be great if the world was full of Aspies? And I have said in a previous video, no. We would probably be, I would admit, we'd probably be better off if we weren't Aspies. If we weren't high-functioning autistics, maybe the world wouldn't be as rich. Maybe the world would be better off. But individually, you could say that you would probably be better off. Your life would be of higher quality. I, in fact, know that would be most likely true. If I had not been born in Aspie, I would have become a military helicopter pilot or a lawyer or a law enforcement officer. There's no reason why I couldn't do all three of those. Go in the military, become a Leo, transition into being a lawyer. But all three of those are not going to happen. Not because I'm an Aspie. No, because I'm an Aspie, and obviously the military thing is gone kaput now. I was in the military a long time ago. No, I'm not. And the lawyer thing is not going to happen because I'm dysgraphic and I have a super hard time reading shit I don't care about. And let me tell you, my dad's been a lawyer for nigh on 40 years. He writes a lot. He writes an insane amount. And he has to read an insane amount. And both are very boring and it's well beyond my capacity. And I can't be a Leo for various reasons. I'm sure there are Aspie Leos out there. I'm not going to be one of them. Part of it is that the dysgraphia. The other part is I don't handle emotional situations well. My mood disorder, not always specified severe emotional handicap, would prevent me from being a Leo. So there you go. All three dreams kaput. I'm probably going to be, at this point in my life, I'm probably going to become an engineer. Oh, admittedly, if I had known that I had great talent in mechanical engineering, if I knew everything back then that I know now, I would have either become a forestry officer, I could maybe become a Leo for the Forest Service, or just work for the Forest Service, because I do rather enjoy working outside. I hated being outside for play, but for job wise, I love being outside. Don't ask me why. And or I might become a mechanical engineer because it turns out I have a talent for it. Anyway, that would have improved my quality of life. And so, yes, I do firmly believe that life is not inherently valuable. Won't get into any politics or who says what or why, or what, any religion or who says what or why. Although I will say that religion saying don't kill yourself seems very about self-interest, because after all, in I was reading maybe the early Jewish times or early Christian times. Anyway, they were promised, one religion was promising a wonderful afterlife, and people were going around killing themselves because they were, they were starving to death as a farmer or a shepherd, or they were going to war, or there was a great disease in their town. They're like, well, this life sucks. Afterlife, here I come. And they went, no, 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 you can't get there because of this. Because after all, let's face it, if you tell everyone, just over the mountain is the greatest thing ever, but you have to stay here. They're not going to stay here. They're going to go over the mountain. No, if you go over before I tell you can go over, you're gonna be kicked out. It's a self-interest thing. But I've talked to many Aspies. Some have wonderful lives and could imagine their lives being any other way and love it. And others have horrible lives. I won't say whether Asperger's will lead to a horrible life or lead to a great life. I will say it will lead to a different life, not necessarily an interesting life. Maybe interesting in the Chinese sense of the word. Maybe live in interesting times. Interesting. And I don't know. My wife and I both agree that our life is not simple. And though we may be terribly bored at times, our life rarely is simple. So this is, anyway, all of that to say, to say, I believe that it is not the years of your life that are valuable. It is what you do in those years that makes your life valuable and therefore enjoyable and worthwhile. And that is my controversial statement. So that when people talk about, oh, what a tragedy, he died young, but I look at his life and it was wonderful. Not really a tragedy. The guy was living a good life and something came along, car accident, a tragic accident. Like sometimes skiers die, extreme skiers. Dean Potter had a really interesting life that he really loved, and he died doing something that he didn't really die doing something he loved. He died attempting to do something that he loved, and he and his climbing partner were killed. And I don't feel bad about that. I mean, the man had a fantastic life. Oh well, when I hear about The guy who is 90 years old and never did anything and never went anywhere and lived a boring life and is miserable because his life sucked because he never stood up and tried, or he tried and it never worked. And so, through no fault of his own, man, his life just sucked on him. That's the tragedy. Not the guy who dies when he's 30, but the guy who's alive when he's 90, who, through no fault of his own, which is he had died at 16, so they wouldn't have to have experienced the last 84 years, or 74 years. And I agree with him there. Have a good day. You have just heard me be controversial. Ooh.